Hey guys, welcome to the Scarred Thumb podcast. I'm going to start with an apology. I'm a little late, but I'm going to apologize for starting off with Matt Walsh here.
At least if you were born at any point prior to the 1990s, might be hard to believe.
Let's turn this
By
guy
revenue,
down.
the gaming industry is bigger than both the movie industry
Matt
and the
Walsh.
music industry combined. And for the past several years, it hasn't been especially close. The difference is consistently more than $100 billion per year. So video games are a massive market, one that's mostly targeted at young people, of course. But despite those numbers, for the most part, the games industry has avoided mainstream scrutiny. You'll see far more discussion about, say, Sydney Sweeney or Taylor Swift than you'll ever see about prominent video game voice actors and directors who pretty much no one knows anything about. Everyone's heard of Lionsgate or Paramount, but almost no one's heard of studios like Don't Nod Entertainment, for example. And that's significant because
Yeah, I haven't heard of them either.
these no-name studios are behind the single most coordinated effort to indoctrinate millions of children through entertainment that's
Millions of children. Good old Matt Walsh here. Yep, he's decided to get in. He got some criticism from video game players because he decided to sort of get into this Gamergate type of thing, cover Sweet Baby. And you see leftists use the term like women a lot to try and it's almost like a sort of like moral shield. Like, we need to protect women. Women are being threatened. It's supposed to it's a very manipulative tactic to try and get you to be on their side. Well, because there's two things society protects, and it's women and it's children. And he's basically for these left wing, Gamergate type of people. They'll say women journalists are being attacked. Female professionals are being attacked by these men, and that's just sort of like to instinctively get you to be like, oh my gosh, like we got to do something. For Matt Walsh and a lot of the right wing, it'll be children. Children are being indoctrinated. They're going after your children. We need regulation, essentially, or we need something. We need to protect the children. And the left wing will use it too. But these are just common manipulation tactics to sort of get you to support their cause. Who doesn't want to protect women? Who doesn't want to protect children? You'd have to be evil not to, right? And that's how they get you. That's exactly how they get you. Matt Walsh here, covering Gamergate. I don't know if I want to go after how much I want to cover this Matt Walsh here, because he doesn't say anything particularly interesting about this. He just brings up, I think one of the things is he brings up Life is Strange, which I thought was kind of a weird thing to go after. Like, Suicide Squad, I get it's it's a male IP, but yeah, it's not even loading. X Video, by the way, sucks. If anyone you were wondering, I hate X Video. But this is the topic I want to go into today. It is the gaming grift. We talked last time about Gamergate 2.0, Sweet Baby. But underneath the surface, people hate games journalists. They're obviously biased. But underneath it, there's a sinister layer that kind of help enable these games journalists by providing them really bad science to back their articles up. And they're making bank off of government grants. And it's, just like I said, a huge grift underneath. Let me see if I can bring up Will Ferrell. Is it Will Ferrell? No, did not. I think it's something else. Ferrell. Boys. The Boy Crisis. Hold on. Let me just search the Boy Crisis. I was going to prepare this, but podcast. Hmm. Let's see if I can find
I saw.
I'll find it later. Sorry about that, guys. I'll find it later. But it was interesting to see Will Ferrell was a guy that did this article called "The Boy Crisis." What's interesting because he used to talk.
The creation of a larger White House Council on Boys and Men in the way that we already have a White House Council on Women and Girls to address the 10-plus causes of the boy crisis. A question that somebody once asked me was, well, will boys not consider themselves losers when they become full-time involved in the caring professions? And there is pressure in that, in math. But no one introduced boys to the caring professions. So one possible solution to the purpose void is to expand boys' sense of purpose, to consider the option of being a full-time. In 76, and a guy comes up to me and says, "Are you Warren Farrell?" And
That's
I go,
Warren Farrell.
"Yes."
There we go.
And he goes, "You formed a men's group that I joined, and the group had more impact on my life than any other thing." And I said, "Well, what created that?" And he goes, "The most important question the group asked me was an exercise in which we were asked, what is the biggest hole in your heart?" And I didn't know the answer.
I didn't know the answer. The main thing I was trying to get at, but he is fortunately not can't find it here, is he was talking, it was really interesting. He was talking about how he used to do work about women's issues, and basically he was invited to all sorts of press dinners. He a lot of different stuff. I think he used to work for some sort of organization, and basically I'm trying to remember, he got all sorts of fame. He was a darling on Capitol Hill. He was born in political science, a supporter of second-wave feminist. Oh, he was stirred on the New York board of the National Organization for Women. And then that's the thing he was. And he sort of advocated for gender liberation movement. Excuse me. And then he kind of started, then he sort of saw like, hey, women are kind of catching up in education, or they're in fact doing better. And then he started kind of moving to doing books about men, like The Myth of Male Power, why men are the way they are. Kind of sort of like books that focused on men more and their issues. And all of a sudden, he found that nobody on Capitol Hill wanted to hear about it. Nobody wanted to form any sort of councils to help men. It was sort of the support dried up when he stopped talking about women's issues. And this is part of the sort of grift that comes into play, is that no one really cares. Society doesn't really care about men in general. All this talk about male power and how male dominate, but when it comes to the mechanisms of government, and like the law, it definitely skews towards protecting women and children. So we'll have stuff like this. You can make a lot of money through grants, government support, but it needs to be focused on specific groups, and those groups are not men. So this is from The Hill by, this is an opinion contributor, Rena Zolo Rosenblatt. After years of paralysis, the U.S. and European Union have been moving to regulate social platforms, tentative steps of the Digital Services Act. But there's one platform, guys, that they haven't been focusing on, and that is online games. They should be part of the regulatory discussion. We got to regulate these games. Discussion of harms of gaming is focused on fears about content of the games themselves, social environment of the games, pose significant threat to players' safety and well-being. exposure to hateful speech is routine. I also find it so funny doxing, exposing private information that these journalists are talking about doxing. The biggest contributors of doxing out of anyone is crying about doxing. Physical threats are also common. Has someone physically threatened you recently in an online game? Let me know. I'd like to see that, or something that you would take seriously. And of course, toxic gamer culture, disseminate hateful ideologies, and there's just I don't know, is a government fat that is around this idea of the toxic gamer, which is men. Let's be fair. Men, when they say toxic gamers culture, they don't use gendered words, but we know exactly what it is. Of course, they'll do this thing where, again, they bring up really isolated incidences where it's Christchurch massacre, and this is literally like the same stuff as the Jack Thompson stuff of the 90s, where it's like he played Counter-Strike. That shooter played Counter-Strike. Oh, it's a robot. Killed 10 people. Probably wouldn't be a nationalist. Noted that he probably wouldn't be if it weren't for Blood and Irons on Roblox, a popular game. Yeah, it was Roblox that turned you into a shooter, not your parents. The power to, and then talk more about this stuff. Those basic calls to regulate these things more, which I assume will essentially come down to more invasive surveillance. Is really what the case is. But then we go over to we gotta get into everyone's favorite thing, the ADL. Of course, the king of grifters, right here, the ADL, because you gotta have of course, have some women. Look out, they're a danger. Hate and harassment in gaming is now so pervasive, it's become a norm for many players. Oh my God. It's just normal. Just normal. It's so weird how they talk about this. Like, no one will talk this about driving. Like, someone cut me off. I've been harassed. But, which, hey, that's what happens when you go out into the world and interact with other people. Not all interactions are good. But, again, we won't have the ADL is not going to talk about this because it's not it's too relatable. Like if it were to relate this to driving, someone cutting you off, someone not letting you in, you putting on your blinker, and then someone speeding up to cut you off, that won't be considered hate or harassment. But the equivalent of this in video games, where somebody hey, you suck or something like that, random people. Though there are states on road rage, so maybe, but not in the same way. Not the same way. But my bad metaphors aside, let's just go into this and then talk about countering extreme. And when they talk about extremism, it's always interesting to note that it's always right-wing extremism that they talk about. It's never left-wing extremism. It's always focus on anti-Semitism, racism, misogyny, homophobia, all this stuff. So it's the government giving out funding to left-wing professors to do research about right-wing extremism or extremism in gaming, and then sort of focusing that to give stuff to journalists and news organizations, which get presented as actual science, which is when it's really just a bunch of crappy surveys. And then, tell it how hate is spreading. Hate is becoming more and more common every day. And basic free advertising for the Democrats. Hate is a no game. Look out. They got these statistics. 3 in 4 teens and preteens experience harassment. Oh no. They want to define harassment, what it is in hard terms. What are the most harassed? Women in black or African American. were the most harassed because of their identity for the first time. It's 2019. Oh my God. And then a bunch of like statistics. And then the like adult teens are spending less on games due to harassment they face. And that it's so funny. There's another thing I'll go into. Like they got people spend less on games they find toxic. You know, there's a real cost to this. And then essentially the question they ask is, do you spend money on a game? Like, how much money do you spend on a game that you don't find toxic? And then last, how much money do you spend on a game that you do find toxic? So it's like, how much money do you spend on a game you like versus a game you hate? And surprisingly, you'll find the result is that the game they like or the game that they don't find toxic is they in fact spend more. Who would have thought? And like, is this an accurate way to get real information? Probably not. The question is moronic. Hey, Jack, how's it going? And then they'll go into like, oh, look at this. A bunch of, just got to mention Jews because they, oh, look at all these scary statistics. We got to get more money. Congress is showing concern. We need Congress. We need all of it. You'll find that all of it leads to, we need a study. Last month, we further pressed 7 efforts to address extreme, urging Attorney General Garland of the U.S. Homeland Security to pay attention to these threats. And then, Ms. Representative Tehran offered an amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act, which called for a commission. We need a commission to a study that connects online multiplayer games and extremism. We need a commission. We need a study that's going to prove right-wing extremists are hanging out in video games. We got to find them. They're there. We know they're there. We just need to spend some money to find them, and further feed the grifting machine of government spending. Everybody needs a little cut of their fat off of the taxpayers' back. This is Grums highlighting. This is Rachel Kuert, which I think we'll cover a study that she's doing today. But this is a DEI professor. DEI professor who's quietly raised millions of dollars in the past week, capitalizing the Sweet Baby Inc. controversy. So let's see. DHS funded Take This officially calls it Gamergate 2 and calls it harassment campaigns. It's happening. And then Motherboard DHS, Department of Homeland Security, spent almost $700,000 to investigate radicalization in gaming. And this is where the money's at. It guarantees that the program focuses on right-wing extremism and the monitoring and evaluation of extremist activities, extreme exploitation in gaming spaces, lore developers, mechanics, and trust and safety professionals, according to the DHS. Yeah. So everybody gets your money at work here to try to prove that you're an extremist, essentially. Try and find these extremist groups online that further prove that the games you're playing are radicalizing these youths and right-wing youths. It's important to say that because it's clearly focused on one side of it, not the other. Responding to Gamergate 2. This is Take This. This is the thing they mentioned. If you're reading this, you're probably hearing about what is called Gamergate 2. It's a latest target harassment campaign within the gaming industry that's aimed at Sweet Baby. Again, I don't think they're going to mention the fact that Felix and Chris Kindred, employees at Sweet Baby, tried to get this guy doxxed and his stuff removed, and then mentioned Discord, Steam, and prominent platforms where abuse harassment has been taking place. Again, this is such dishonest language. It's just giving people the ability to interact with each other. And, of course, it being somewhat anonymous, guess what ends up happening? Not all of it is going to be great. And then outline entire spectrum of typology, extremism, and dark participation. That's Rachel Cowert's little contributions of the lexicon is dark participation. Which I think we're going to go over at some point. And then for everyone, it's important to speak out and take steps. Folks who are being harmed, and then people marginalized can often have some tools. You got to have tools. Large volume campaign is still relevant. Games hotline website, digital safety guide. And then, we need to have studies. We need to have committees. We need to have commissions. We need money, essentially. Just give us money so we can do this stuff. A note our resource empowering the game industry. A major lesson learned from Gamergate was importance of taking a loud public stance. At the time, many studios were hesitant to address the abuse from Gamergate in a meaningful way. Reasons varied, but the hesitation was born out of fear of losing profits and considered taking a stance would attract attention of the Gamergate mob. Oh no. Insulting our customers might lose us revenue. That's crazy. Let's move on. Take this again. Kind of connected to that Rachel cohort. This is another woman. That's the other thing. The other thing about this is, Rachel, Constance. A lot of these are women, and surprisingly focused on turning men's spaces, saying men's spaces are rude and extremist, and then kind of working with video game companies to make them worse, actively trying to make them worse for the men. I've been watching actually a lot of videos of hers, and it's nothing ridiculously sounding, but insidious nonetheless. A person that understands that games are sort of like a men's play space, and hates the fact that it is. Understands it's sort of like the third place was what she defines it as, which, sort of like it's not work, it's not the home, it's kind of like, a place to hang out. And she's actively working to make that worse for people that enjoy it. The majority of people that enjoy it, which are men. And this is here where she's calling that, governor signed in a sweeping law demanding transparency among social media platforms, to combat extremism, hate speech, extremism, disinformation campaigns, harassment. It's disinformation campaigns, essentially speech the government doesn't want, and all of it, focused on right-wing speech, essentially trying to sort of subvert the First Amendment. And then she's arguing that, online games should be included in these new regulations. We need to regulate them. We need to ban you from, League of Legends for talking about COVID. Who knows what exactly this leads to. But, we need to basically have regulations where, and look, she mentions Rachel cohort again. So we need regulations that front lines of these games. She mentions a bunch of women that she works with to regulate games. Yeah, that's exactly what men want. They want more regulations in their video games. Overdue relief, setting up this means finally get their hands on reliable, industry data, and the real nature and extents of the problems of toxicity, extremism, and online games. It's because they don't have any real data. It's all bullshit surveys right now, so they're hoping they can, sift through this and do exactly what they always do, which is take very isolated incidents and blow them up to further get more data, more money for their grants and their studies and their commissions, all of it. And then this is, again, Rachel Cohort, the person that we were talking about earlier that's getting all this money. She tries to coin this. I guess is another way you sort of make a lot of cash or, get your name out there. You need to, oh, God, come on now, Billy. Come on now, Billy. Bye-bye. Basically, what this does is, I guess one of the things where you coin these, you coin a phrase, It's got to be a phrase, toxicity. I don't know who coined that, but they didn't do a good job attaching the name to it. But, you can sort of get that part of the lexicon, then you'll be the name that's referenced when that comes up. So it's really, really good marketing for these professional hacks. So her little thing is dark participation. That's essentially what that means is, if you're a gamer that doesn't play exactly the way that's socially acceptable, if you try and test the lines here, bend the rules or basic. Oh, she quotes Brianna Wu. That's how you know it's good. If you don't play nice, then you're a dark participant. And then it goes into like environmental, communal factors. All of this is pretty boring stuff where they're just quoting each other's, citing each other's papers. There's also the idea that games are a boy's toy. And toxicity stems from the idea that games are being infiltrated by anyone who doesn't fit this mold. Right? Hiding tension and lead to harassment of others, a way that makes them leave the space, so to say. If only that was true. It is a boy's toy, by the way. Most of them are. Individual motivations and perpetrators, and and it just goes on to talk toxicity, trolling, harassment, and then it I think at some point they list all the behaviors, which are very expansive, from trash talking to hate speech, sexual harassment. Oh my God. And then it's like doxing and swatting, that kind of stuff. So try to cover every little thing that they can to all things. Again, swatting, yeah, that's very common in video games. And you have this place like Fair Play Alliance. I don't know if this was recent, but this is another crazy where it's like video games are helping people create criminal behavior. Youth criminal economy is a serious issue. Yes, they're learning to be criminals in these games. It's like prison. They're becoming criminals as they learn to DDoS and hack. Hacksaw is the mainframe. It's we need to study this. We need to help these kids, take them away from their hacking ways and put them on the right path. Again, I don't know how much money they get from these. I don't know how much money they get for these to make these studies or where they get the funding. But there's always places like the Gates Foundation and that kind of stuff. Always a grant out there that they can get. And then this is another thing that I think they linked to in this ADL article. I got all these from this ADL article where they're constantly referencing each other, constantly trying to make sure that they look out for each other. And this is I read through most of this report. It's boring, but it is incredibly awful, where it just constantly takes these incidents where it's like Russian operative seeks to infiltrate succession in Discord group made up of people who play Minecraft. Look out. The Russians. They're trying to infiltrate Minecraft. It'll go on to mention New Zealand. It'll mention these. The Christchurch shooter shares links for the Manifesto Trial, the Great Replacement. He sardonically credited Spyro Yura the Dragon for teaching him ethno-nationalism. And, of course, Fortnite for training me to be a killer. This is, serious stuff. I'm sure he was really serious when he said that. Spyro is what radicalized me. And then echoed, they'll mention another one at Walmart. I'll talk about Call of Duty. And then some sort of German Twitch. Mentions Twitch. Essentially like, hey, let's take a mass shooter. Let's link them tenuously to a video game and say that the video game was the cause with the most loose connections. Like I said, it's Jack Thompson all over again with this stuff, right? Except, they're, I guess, maybe doing a bit better job at it than Jack did, rather than just being like one guy that sort of like goes out into the news and becomes a talking head. They essentially just do this and get government grants to help fund their lazy and garbage science. Get congressional hearings so people can sound kind of professional while they're talking about why this is totally a problem. And they'll just do this constantly through it. Like, I'm sure I can find something here. Let's see. Let's see, Gen Z. Normative. I'm sure there's something out talk about. Oh, this was an interesting chart. Game revenue. Wait, actually, it wasn't. And they talk about Discord, blah blah blah. And they'll this radicalization funnel. Ah, yes. by the case of 2 German children under the age of who were radicalized by far-right communities in online video games between documented German state police and other researchers. Established a friendship with an older gamer of Roblox. Oh my God, far-right Discord. Nazi party. Did they do something? Or no? They just radicalized them. Oh my gosh. One kid had a Nazi Roblox thing. So we got to do some research here. Harassment, and they'll come with the grass. Were you harassed? Yeah, 42%. Extremist Guild, the leader of the KK Guild, World of Warcraft. Oh boy, Jesse Jackson. What the hell? Oh boy. You see that Roblox? User built Nazi village on Roblox. Oh, this Singapore kid made Nazi propaganda and got arrested in Roblox. He didn't I don't think he actually killed anybody. He just got arrested for this stuff. And this is what they do the entire time. Here's this incident of this one kid doing something. And video games are kind of related. So, video games are the problem. We need to do something about it. We need more monitoring. We need more commissions. We need more studies. We need more money. We need more money to address this very important issue. I'm not going to go over riots crap, but player dynamics. I'll have to look more into player dynamics. I don't want to talk about this stuff anymore. It's so much garbage. But this is the thing. Like, people want to talk about Gamergate. Oh, the sweet baby. They're making money to make games worse. No one really goes. I don't think not enough attention is played to the. I guess a lot of it's boring as hell, probably. To this kind of stuff. Where's keywords? Dark participation. Again, they show up. I wonder if that'll actually take hold. Oh, because it's racial code is culturally justified hate, prevalence and mental health impact of dark participation in games. And this is going over how read harassed in games, it makes me feel bad. Therefore, mental health impact. It's making kids suicidal. ADL, of course, the ADL. And who's funding this stuff? Oh, they get to go to Hawaii for this too. You got a free trip to Hawaii. That's got to be pretty nice for them. Very nice. Elizabeth Kilmore. It's always these research things are always 2 women and a guy, almost all the time. It's pretty funny. But like I said, this probably doesn't get studied enough. And I'm hoping I can get more time to look into this. But right now, I just haven't had time to look into it and present something that's kind of compelling. But this is what's kind of going on over the surface. And this is under the surface, and it kind of comes out later in the form of these journalist articles and stuff. It's funding by your money. If you're a taxpayer, American taxpayer, or a Canadian taxpayer, it's your money that's going into this. So you're working at your job, you're taking a break, play some video games, hard day at work. This is what you do to relax. And then these people are taking that taxpayer money that's being taken out of your paycheck to make your video game experience worse. Because hey, yeah, bad day. You want to cut loose, gotta yell in your game, what are you doing, damn it? Yeah, something bad, maybe. A little, or a little bit, asocial. Well, they want to try and get you banned from this, or reported, or who knows. You can't cut loose anywhere. There's no place. You gotta go in, you gotta work your ass off, you got to, be respectful while you're doing that because you're surrounded by women or customers and can't have anything wrong there. Come home, play your video game. Again, no way to cut loose. You cannot be angry. You cannot rage. You will get banned. You'll be toxic. You're a dark participant. If you get upset while playing your competitive game, that can't happen. Cannot happen. Till at every point, the shackles continue to tighten on you. Let's see. Ingroth, why are people allergic to feeling bad or challenged ever? I know I answered, but it feels wrong that I have to ask. Yep. I think it is kind of odd because I think it is one of the people like always like, oh, why do you play this game if you get so mad at it? And like that's actually one of the fun parts about the game is that you get mad at it. You know, it's the rage and the sort of feeling bad, especially like games like Dark Souls. It's overcoming. It's challenging. It's not. If it just gives you like good feeling, it gets boring. You need that extra challenge. It makes the highs higher and the lows lower. And it's, you know, it's always part of the fun. But, you know, if you're a woman and you don't understand that, you might see this as dark participation or, you know, some sort of asocial behavior on in these video games. But let's move on from the research stuff. I'll look more into this. I've been looking at that other lady, that Studebaker, because let's see, did they? Hold on, let me show. I meant to show this. This is actually, now that I mentioned her, I want to show this screenshot. This was the. This is just a funny thing to leave off. This is where your tax dollars, American tax dollars, go to work at. So she did mention at some point she had to get funding from the Gates Foundation, which I found quite interesting. But this is one of Studebaker's, whatever her name is. What was her name? Constance Studebaker. There we go. This was one of her great slides. Lack of diversity in the gaming industry, privileging the white male gamer. Look out! This is the cycle. And then misogyny, because there's white male gamers in it. Misogyny is at the root, where it's like, hey, there's a guy lifting up the other guy's hand while the females are bad. Oh no, there's sexy women in my game. This can't be. And this somehow leads to hardcore gamers and the manosphere. Oh no, which leads to Gamergate, which leads to normalizing extremist discourse and ideology. And then extremist evangelization, like, hey, do you know the... I'm not even going to say it. I'm trying to think of an example that doesn't get me banned. And then, I guess apparently this leads to mainstream games soft-selling white supremacy. Did you know that? Did you know that Call of Duty's soft-selling white supremacy? I didn't. But, yeah, apparently that's what's happening. And then that apparently creates the vicious cycle here of oppression or how white men are oppressing women. Apparently, because again, you need the boogeyman to make money, and the best boogeyman is the cis white male, that white male gamer. Speaking of racism, though. You know who you can't be racist against? White people.
I have a team of 21 right now for Validate. It's a pretty big team. It's a crazy big team for indie games. But who is your team? Validate
of course,
has
the
a team of mostly all people of color. We have no white people on our team.
No white people.
I did that because I wanted to create a safe environment. And I know the best way for an environment to be safe is to be around people who are just like me. And I'm not saying that white people in the industry are creating unsafe environments. I'm not saying that. That is not what I'm saying. I am saying that sometimes it is hard to work with white people.
It's hard to work with white people because you're racist.
Think that something made it okay, but it was really a microaggression.
Oh, no, not a microaggression.
No one wants to deal with that while you're trying to make a game.
No one wants to deal with white people while they're making games. Yep. Then this person used to work for Sweet Baby. According to their LinkedIn profile, they used to work at Sweet Baby Incorporated. Hey, I've got no white people. Literally just admitting to it. For Cliffhanger devs working on this Black Panther game, admits that she does not hire white people. Insane. And this is what you're allowed to get. I also love the fact that libs of TikTok put their freaking watermark here. I mean, this isn't her video. She just took it off something and put her watermark. Oh, I hate libs of TikTok as well, but for different reasons. Another woman. This was funny. So this is apparently the Unknown is a thing on Death by Daylight They created a new skin, and some people are mentioning like, hey, there's a transgender VA. I mean, some people saying they're seeing a resemblance. I don't. Not at all. And then this is weird because the note's saying, oh, she's confirmed that on Twitter that she does not think that it's transphobic and she loves the character, but there's also, was this not a viral witch hanging? A voice unknown. And then she talks about how she feels trans community are up in arms because they feel like, hey, this may be like transphobic because it, I don't know, kind of like presenting trans women as monsters or ugly looking freaks. No one would think that. I'm sure. And then here she's saying that she's not okay with it. But in the community note, she's saying she's okay with it. So I don't know who to believe. Or maybe she's trying to play like both, where it's like, hey, I don't want to, she's got to support the company that's paying her money. While at the same time, like going to the trans community, like, hey, no, I know I'm with you guys. I'm not okay with it. But at the same time, because I don't think people want to hire it's usually not good, if you kind of throw the people that pay you money under the bus if something goes wrong. So it might be bad if for future work. Let's move on with the crap. Let's talk about some fun stuff. This is from Bloomberg. Power World. Talk about Power World, a success story, a feel-good story. Pocket Pair will consider partnerships or takeovers, but no IPO. I don't know what that means. Biggest independent Power World was crafted from the outset, according to its creator, Taroko Misobi. That talks about how, he just wanted to make a game for fun. Multiplayer elements, and that small 55-person studio, which is amazing. They ended up making a game after recognizably inspired by Nintendo's Pokemon, but they wouldn't get far if the game was merely a copycat. Also borrowed ideas from the hit game. Of course, it kind of talks about how they took from Pokemon, Ark Survival, Factorio, RimWorld. All of it was kind of, it's too much exactly. That's what I think they further goes on. They just took all these things and put together, which, is, I guess, in a way, creativity. Everything's derivative. The bodies remain in the game meaninglessly. Typically, when you kill a monster enemies, they just disappear. Colleagues were against leaving useless bodies in the game, but I pushed it through it because I thought players would find a way to play with and talk about it, which I think was brilliant. Everyone loves, when you first start the game up and you kill like a lamb ball and it's like dead body just keeps rolling down the hill. That was a great moment. There's a certain humor to the game that's splicing of genres. It's evident, which I think is kind of the X factor of it, where it sort of has that sort of dark humor. Where you expect, Pokemon, but then you have like dead bodies rolling around. None of earlier games could have prepared the studio for the running success of Power World. The $30 title generated more than 25 million players in just a month, one of the fastest debuts in the industry history, and delivered a major hit for Microsoft's Game Pass. Like cartoony monsters, photorealistic environments, unusual art. So it's kind of like a weird juxtaposition of stuff. And then, thankfully, he kind of talks about we are and will remain a small studio. I want to make small games. Big budget AAA games are not for us, which say great news. They don't want to overextend themselves and make crappier stuff. Ued's the chief executive owns the entire company, which this is actually pretty interesting. He's the chief executive officer and owns the entire company. Sees small studios as the biggest pioneers in game design, which kind of bodes well as long as he sticks around. He can kind of steer the ship. I think a lot of the issues with a lot of games right now is there's no one in charge of it. There's no like single person with a single vision that could say like, hey, this is how we should do it. It's all like executive committees, stockholder, CEOs or shareholders, all that stuff. It's all businessmen at top, and all these sort of bad decisions being made up there, and where the creatives have to kind of work around it and make something out of it. Complete lack of direction. Having a single guy at top, I think, definitely helps. I think that's actually one of the reasons why Japan, I think, delivers higher quality games than a lot of Western studios. Power costs less than $1 billion, $6.7 million to make, and has returned tens of billions of yen in profit, an amount that's too big for the studio with our size to handle. The company doesn't plan a spending spree on more staff or financial efforts, said the CEO, who had previously been a tech engineer at J.P. Morgan. Doesn't plan to offer shares in Pocket Bear on publicly traded markets, so they're keeping it in-house. The CEO isn't confident that Pocket Bear could create another game as wildly popular as Power, which is definitely smart and true. Probably not. This probably is lightning in a bottle. More than 2 million simultaneous playing at one point, rivaling the biggest and best titles on PC, but he's sure about the winning recipe for games today. Games are most fun with playing with friends. The game without a multiplayer mode just doesn't feel right in the era we live today, which could be a bit of a hot take. I still think single-player games are fun, though I do like the sort of social element you can have with single-player games. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know if Dragon's Dogma is single-player or not, but I think it's mostly single-player. And I think that's definitely going to be a big hit. At least it's shaping up to be. And of course, you had stuff like Baldur's Gate 3 that did really well. But yes, the multiplayer element, I think, was a huge factor in Power World's success, and something that Pokemon just hasn't been able to deliver on in a real way. It is single player. Thanks, Jay. How's it going, Mish, by the way? Good to see you, sir. You're literally saying everything I've been telling my friends on game management. Yeah, exactly. This is something I wanted to go into. Yeah. They might finally decide to make it MMO since they pulled the plug on the MMO a few years ago, I think. Yeah, co-op games, definitely huge. It's going to be amazing, but Capcom isn't used to MMORPGs. Yeah, you never, that's the thing is like, you almost need, I don't know if you need experience, but it can always be difficult to have that infrastructure in place. Which, by the way, I don't know if that's a thing to bring it up. Maybe I should bring that up now, speaking of it, since it's a nice segue. No, it's not this. Probably the worst launch of all time. Star Wars Battlefront Classics Collection tear into, Asprier for bugs, crashes. They had 3 64-player launch servers for nearly 10,000 users. They only had 3 on launch. This is how ridiculous. This is, PC Gamer by Joshua Woolens, just talking about basically just putting in tweets. I should be a game journalist at this point because I can make articles based on tweets. I make a podcast based on people's tweets. But this is ridiculous. 3 dedicated servers, 64 players each. I'm sure you can do the math. That's only a little under 200 people. For 10,000 players, players can host their own servers, which would help, but some users report that the feature isn't working properly for them either. Holy smokes. Receiving mostly negative reviews as just a disastrous launch. So people that, have nostalgia for Star Wars Battlefront, not having a good time. They didn't monetize it for sustainability. Oh, the MMO that they made. Yeah, that's the thing is you always got to have some sort of constant influx of money to keep a lot of the MMO like live service. Free to play, yeah. It's always rough. You got to have like skins and that kind of stuff. So you do have to have like a whole content strategy, and that's something Capcom. I don't know if they have a game like that. Almost all their games that I notice, like Street Fighter, that kind of stuff, are like 2 years of support with DLC and then come out with a new game. That's always kind of, it's the same thing with like Monster Hunter too. Like that could have sustainable support, but it's always like 2 years of content, come out with a new game. Announce a new game. It's same thing with like Rise, or like they have Rise, they have the expansion, another year of support, and then announce Monster Hunter Wild. So it's not something that I think Capcom usually does, but there could be a game in there that I'm missing. The other thing I wanted to talk about isn't video game related, but this is something I just thought I saw and I couldn't. This is the new X-Men 97. People seem to really be liking it, but I personally cannot stand it. And I'll kind of go over it. All this stuff is like 3D models, and you can tell just by the way they move. They're always super consistent in their proportions. I'll make sure. Like, she brings it down here. It's all 100% together. It's nothing sort of changes or more. And they do like this weird stuff. Like, here's a cloud of smoke. You saw she bring it down. Here's a cloud of smoke. And by the way, like, if you enjoy it, like, I'm not here to like crap on it, because I just see some people that are really excited. I just wanted to sort of verbalize my dislike for it, because I saw this and I was like, I had a visceral reaction to it, and the fact that I don't like it, But here's the cloud of smoke, which is going to clearly covers up the fact that the head has been removed from the model, so it's like a separate model here. There's like a lot of just a lot of cheap animation tricks here. Then again, they're not going to show the model being broken. They're just going to show such weird camera angles, because they can't show the face being broke. They can only show like this part coming out. And Beast throws this guy's over.
Greetings, enemy mine.
Again, they're not going to show him tearing this thing up. They're just going to have a creative camera angle where he just jumps into it. It's all implied.
Lewis, I think this is
That's probably the best thing of animation there, is that those things.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful involuntary friendship.
Then the stuff like a lot of the stuff comes apart on camera, off camera. His head won't actually blow up. It'll just show like some smoke here that implies that it's blowing up. Let's see, in this part, they actually kind of blows up a little bit, but not a lot. People are like, oh man, this is great. I just don't see it. And then for comparison, we got the X-Men here. Original X-Men, which, by the way, this isn't like a great... this animation wasn't exact. I don't want to like put on nostalgia glasses here, because a lot of this animation wasn't great. Actually shoots through it, and they sort of fall.
Come on, Trask.
Just like the way they fall are a lot more satisfying. And they break apart.
Miss me petite. I reckon so.
There's like a lot less like action going on in this, but I kind of find the way they fall apart a lot more satisfying. You can see that. I don't know if you saw that frame. Because I mean, this animation clearly wasn't, super the height of animation quality here. I'm sure they're making doing their best they can on a budget. You can see the laser clearly above the hand. Again, there, same thing. Storm going up. Shoot some lightning. Very cool. I love the fact that they just fall apart like that. That was one of my favorite things about the old X-Men. And apparently, a lot of people of the comics really hated that, because in like comics themselves, Sentinels were actually kind of dangerous. And in the cartoon, they just were paper. See, I don't think you're going to get shots like this in see. You're not going to get shots like this in X-Men 97, I don't think. But we'll see.
Y'all ought to learn how to behave.
She throws it again, and that guy falls apart like a sack of potatoes.
This one's for you, Mark.
I love that quote. Very cool. Again, they sort of, just the way they fall down. Seems a lot like his head's kind of extending. It's not like perfect, but I think it has more feeling than it has more soul. To use like some crappy 4chan term. X-Men Evolution and Wolverine, that I haven't really watched those all that much, but this is the other thing we'll go into. I'm just throwing this into to write on the animation. This was sort of the Japanese ad campaign, which is like here, it's just a cute moment between two people while they're eating McDonald's. Having a fun little moment, cute little moment between a guy and a girl. It's cute. And then here's what McDonald's, American McDonald's, decides to do. They decide to make this sort of it's sort of like parody of animation. And let's just throw every trope, every anime trope into one thing. Hey, McDonald's sauce, yay! Go! Ugh. This is like Sakura-con. I don't know if you guys ever remember Sakura-con level of Japanese culture. That's a classic. Let me throw Sakura-con on. Sakura-con commercial. Here we go.
I love sushi.
I love Japan, period.
The tea ceremonies. J-Rock! Yeah.
Garuga Mesh!
Garuga Mesh!
I love anime!
And gaming! Oh, GDR!
Gay men!
Miley K!
Hey! Sakura-kan ikimasu!
Don't just...
Ah, a classic days, man. Oh, the nostalgia.
Talk about it. Check out Sakura-con. April 10th through...
Sakura-con. Yeah. Ikimasu. Oh, boy. But you know what? Let's see. One last story. The thing about this is like, I don't know. It's, if we lost, like, as America lost the ability to make cute things or like stuff that's, authentic. It's not, I understand it's a commercial. So obviously, like, this is just a commercial. It's at the end of the day, it's to sell you a product. But at the least, they're trying to, like, here's, and this feels like we used to make commercials like that. Here's just, a heartwarming moment between people. And meanwhile, America has to make this sort of bizarre parody that doesn't take, clearly not serious. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but some of it feels off about it. All of the West and all that. Former PlayStation boss, and this is kind of maybe an interesting, uplifting story here from PC Gamer. Former PlayStation boss calls exclusivity the industry's Achilles heel. Helldivers 2 has shown that. Further talk about it, but here's the real quote. This is from... But worry not, fair keyboard warrior. It seems like the tide is turning largely, according to PlayStation's current president, and now its former one too, according to an interview with ex-honcho Sean Layden, courtesy of Game Beats. When your cost for a game exceeds $200 million, Layden says exclusivity is your Achilles heel. It reduces your addressable market, particularly when you're in the world of live service gaming or free to play. Another platform is just another way to funnel. It's just another way of opening the funnel, getting more people in. So, saying what I think a lot of people have been repeating lately, like with the cost of games being so high, that exclusivity just isn't a good idea for AAA games anymore. So moving on. So we might see, I think at some point, the costs, people like need to reduce the cost of these AAA games, but in the meantime, it looks like we'll at least see recent live service casts followed a similar pattern, wave of MMOs in 2010, 2020. Last year, the problem is still very much the same. Big thing becomes popular. Companies want to make their own version, but the big thing, spending a bunch of money to do so and watch it collapse under its own weight. So yeah, people have been chasing right now. You've seen people chase the sort of live service cash grabs here that sort of seemed to be like a gold mine for a while, but now everyone's like, no, we don't want to play a live service game. A lot of these suck. And then got to mention how Helldivers has shown that for the PlayStation coming out and PC at the same time, you get a wider funnel, get more people in, and I think you also get a lot of more people talking about it since you have more people available to play it, which really helps sell the game. When you have more people on Twitter, more hype, further evidence that PC gaming, PC gaming isn't dead. So hopefully we'll see both PC games and these sort of console games coming out on PC in the future. Guys, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Post zero. I don't know if Jack's still here. Maybe we can, I don't know if he's got that thing up. Okay. Alone time. I'm going to try and get in on this. We'll talk about the importance. Why you should have time alone. And why that's important. I'll link that there. So I don't think I can, I don't think he set up a redirect. But that's it. Guys, hope you enjoyed it. Have a wonderful day.